Okay, I'm getting the impression you guys want me to do Hotel Transylvania too. Disclaimer, this series revolves around criticising things, and the fact that I'm doing that doesn't necessarily mean I dislike the thing. Thank you. Click below to watch the original Sins video, or to buy Hotel Transylvania 2.
"46 seconds of Transl logos. This is the exact same logo gag as the first movie. If you're gonna logo us to death anyway, maybe don't be so lazy."
He says immediately after making the same logo-based sin he makes at the start of every video he makes.
I'm not sure exactly where these monsters are tracking in all this mud from.
Probably from the forest outside.
But apparently it doesn't even matter, because the carpet is white as Tim Tebow's wedding dress again mere seconds later.
Remember how in the first movie it was established that they have witches as cleaners who can just cast spells on the dirt and it goes away? The very same witches that are on screen as you made that sin? Yeah, maybe it has something to do with that.
Also, between this and the first movie, it seems like keeping this lobby clean is a real issue.
No, it's not. Later on in this video, you mentioned that you watched Hotel Transylvania 1 and 2 back to back, so how did you manage to fuck this up?
I would eat a bucket of garlic to fly with you.
But that would kill Dracula, so this is an odd declaration to make to his daughter.
Jeremy, whose job it's been to talk about movies for 6 years now, still doesn't know what hyperbole is. Actually no, scratch that. Jeremy, who's lived on Earth with other humans for over 40 years now, still doesn't know that sometimes people exaggerate. Also, in the last movie, it's established that when Dracula eats garlic, it makes his throat swell up, which, although could kill him, he could also survive. Especially if he carries an EpiPen, which he might, considering in the last movie it was played more like an allergy than some kind of magical reaction.
I'm pregnant.
What?
Hold on, movie. Where was this batty bump a minute ago when Mavis was in human form? Also, I have so many questions about pregnancy-based bat-human transformation. Does the fetus transform from a human fetus to a bat fetus? Or just a smaller human fetus?
Yes, the movie definitely should be explaining this. Where the fuck is my bat fetus transformation diagram?
What if the stress of delivery made her transform while giving birth?
Oh yeah, that relatable moment when you're giving birth and the stress is too much so you accidentally activate your transmogrification powers. I fucking hate it when that happens. Despite the fact that we've been given no reason to believe that Mavis would transform as a result of extreme stress. So the question you're asking is basically on the same level as asking, what if a plane crashed into Mavis while she was giving birth? Because yes, that technically could happen, but we have no reason to believe that there's any reason it should.
Look, movie, if you don't want me going there, don't show me a pregnant bat.
Yes, of course, definitely. The movie walked right into that one.
How is Mavis's information still able to be seen so clearly on a height chart that was created over 118 years ago?
Because the information is quite clearly carved into the wood. Plus, again, may I remind you that this place is maintained using magic?
What is that? What's the noise? It's on me!
It's just the cell phone I got you.
Why would Johnny get Dracula the cell phone and slip it in his clothes without telling him? Is everyone bred through sitcom hijinks in this universe?
This one is genuinely dumb, and I really did consider it for the actual dumbest sin ever award, although I decided it's not quite as dumb as the last one. So, Dracula is confused by the ringing phone, but the assumption there is not that Johnny slipped it into his back pocket when he wasn't looking. The assumption there is that Dracula has never experienced his phone ringing before. If someone gave you a strange device, the likes of which you'd never seen before, and then you put it in your back pocket, you too would probably be somewhat surprised if it then started vibrating. And if the phone had been in Dracula's pocket for long enough for him to forget about it, his reaction is pretty reasonable. Even if it was played up a little bit, because, you know, that's the kind of movie this is.
Are we ever allowed to be alone again?
Are we seriously watching a text conversation happen in real time? I swear this movie could have been called Hotel Transylvania 2 Unfriended.
This happening once is not worth a title change joke, my dude.
Come on, sweetie, back to bed.
Back to bed? It's already after 8 p.m.
Don't you remember the new sleep schedule?
Actually, Mavis, you're the one that may need your memory jogged, because according to this board, 8 p.m. appears to be the beginning of free time.
Actually, Jeremy, you may need to learn to read, because free time doesn't start until 10. Although, you are right insofar as 8 p.m. isn't listed as a time to sleep. You really only fucked up the details here.
All he needs is time with his vampire.
Vampa.
Vampire grandpa.
Hey there, movie. We'll handle the silly word combinations around here. When you've already got one person doing it, there's no need for a Portman 2.
The movie did it first, and also, please stop.
Is it shorts weather where we're going?
Jeez, I hope not. My body isn't swimsuit ready yet.
I've never seen Murray wear anything but bandages, so how would swimsuit readiness even be an issue?
We've only ever seen him in the hotel so far, no? So we wouldn't know if he changes his clothes based on the weather. Either way, this doesn't matter, and you're just reading way too far into an unfunny joke that wasn't meant to make sense in the first place. Oh dear God, that's exactly what I'm I'm doing.
We can't say nothing about this?
No, we don't have time for zingers.
Just plenty of time for running gags that aren't funny the first time.
Jeremy says this sentence without a hint of irony or self-awareness, even though you could use it as a slogan for CinemaSins.
The animation in this film and the first one is great, and there are so many great visual gags like this. Too bad the same can't be said for the story and screenplay. And is there no one that has the balls to just tell Sandler no every now and then?
The people who need to say no to Sandler weren't involved in the production of this movie. They're the ones who enable him to keep doing what he's doing by buying tickets to his films.
Adorable, yes. Not scary.
But does Dracula really care if Dennis is scary? I thought the main concern was just that he was more vampire than human.
It matters to Dracula that he's scary because to Dracula, being scary is part of being a vampire.
This place is open all night, right, sir?
Yes.
This rainbow teeth joke makes no sense. Not only were her teeth white a split second ago, why on earth would each individual tooth be coated a different color?
Thank you for pointing that out. I'm sure everyone working on this film thought that that was realistic.
Murray is going to conjure up the biggest sandstorm you've ever seen.
Glad they chose to explain abilities of a character one movie later, after having him do a bunch of in the previous film with no explanation.
Nobody needs explanations for the powers in this movie because nobody cares. This is a daft comedy about monsters. And of course the mummy is going to have some kind of sand-based powers. It's a mummy. It's been lifted straight from a box of stock monsters. Taking time out to explain the monster's powers that pretty much everyone in the audience have just accepted anyway because that's the way things are with these kinds of monsters would be beyond pointless and would detract from the movie's pacing. Also, what we're getting now still isn't an explanation. Dracula just says that Murray is about to use his sand powers, and then Murray uses his sand powers. If that's what you consider a worthy explanation of these powers, and you consider that something that you need, then what are you even doing? Have you just been watching these movies up until this point going, where is all of this fucking sand coming from? I mean, the mummy is nearby and loads of sand is appearing, but I can't make any kind of connection between those two things.
That's my girlfriend, suckers!
Your wife, Johnny.
How does anyone who has been married for almost 5 years still make this mistake?
It's probably due to how clearly stoned Johnny is at any given time. I mean, look at the guy, he's clearly stoned. Come on. Come on. Come
Yeah, we're over here now. Had to scale it down. Insurance.
We are vampires. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
I don't really know enough about what it is you're doing there to sin it. I mean, I'm guessing it's a reference to something, but I can't really Google "we are vampires" bum ba-dum 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 and expect to find any results. In fact, fuck it, I'm gonna do that and see what comes up, but I'm guessing I won't find anything. Okay, I googled it and I'm still not sure, but that's not even what I want to talk about here. I just want to add a mist in for this movie perpetuating the whole stereotypical, oh, kids today are so pampered and everything is made super safe for them, and like, come on, shove it up your bum, movie.
We have a couple of mixed families in the neighborhood, so I thought I'd invite them over.
This monster as a metaphor for race and prejudice idea isn't bad, but it comes out of nowhere, disappears just as quickly, and doesn't have the fangs to really say anything important beyond a few stereotypically lame jokes.
Yes, because what we all really wanted here was for this Adam Sandler movie to stop and take a serious look at race politics.
Go!
And for the next 30 seconds, the movie will make lame jokes about how the kid is still falling. Considering people fall about 500 feet every 6 seconds, it means he should have gone about 2,500 feet by now. Or put another way, the height of 2 Empire State Buildings stacked on top of each other. I mean, I know they climb for a bit, but there's no way they could get high enough for that distance to make sense.
Okay, so I do agree that this clearly goes on for too long, and although that does sort of fit in with the movie's style of not really taking itself too seriously, I'll let you have that one. What I won't let you have is 500 feet every 6 seconds as the rate at which people would fall. No, this is not okay, you can't do that. The rate at which people accelerate while falling is almost 10 meters per second, and they accelerate until they reach their terminal velocity of just over 50 meters per second. Also take note that I use the metric system for my physics because I'm civilized. That terminal velocity is about double the speed at which you claimed people would fall. But you've also got to take into account the fact that Dennis would take 5 seconds to accelerate to that speed. So next time you make a sin like this, please try not to
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. Look at the help section in your Alexa app.
Thanks for telling me this now, Alexa. You've really helped me there. Stop!
I'm having trouble connecting.
Stop! So next time you make a sin like this, please don't shit on physics as you're doing it. You know, you don't need to fully explain your working, but please just do the maths properly.
This was recorded mere minutes ago, and it already has 116 million views. Tay-Tay doesn't even pull that kind of number in the first full day.
Also, despite having over 100 million views, this video only has 27 likes. That's not a really realistic engagement rate.
Count, how goes it? Frankenstein. Actually, I'm technically Frankenstein's monster.
You've been going with the Frankenstein moniker for almost 2 films now, not to mention the whole Johnny Stein bit in the first one. You don't get to backtrack now, movie.
If anything, this confirms what I said about this in my video on the first movie, that Frankenstein is just an abbreviation of Frankenstein's monster. And yes, by the way, you can all stop telling me now that his real name is Adam. I've got that message. Thank you, though.
Dennis might not be a monster yet, but he's definitely got super speed, considering how quickly he ran down the bridge and up on the hill.
It's been your job to talk about movies for 6 years, but apparently you still don't know what a jump cut or transitional wipe is.
You're the nicest boy I know.
And the only boy she knows.
Okay, so normally I try to give you the benefit of the doubt on these things. Normally I assume you've made honest mistakes rather than deliberately cherry-picking the footage you show from the movie so that you can pretend that there are mistakes there that aren't actually there, but let's play the full clip you're talking about there. In fact, I'm not adding any new footage here. I'm just re-adding in the audio that you muted out so you could talk over it.
You're the nicest boy I know. And I have 300 brothers.
Yeah, so the full line there is, you're the nicest boy I know and I have 300 brothers. Yet you still claim that he's the only boy she knows. Can you please not lie to people? Because, you know, that's what that is. That's not a joke. It's not satire, it's a lie.
What a surprise, said no one who ever watched this movie.
I honestly hate that they did that so much. It means that Dracula just doesn't get punished for all of the genuinely bad things he does in this movie. Like, he doesn't have to learn anything from this experience at all, because everything went his way in the end. And it means Mavis doesn't learn anything either, because she changes her mind about moving, not because it would make Dennis and Johnny unhappy, but because that now that Dennis is a vampire, she doesn't have to move. This movie that should have been about Dracula coming to terms with the fact that his grandson isn't a vampire, and Mavis coming to terms with the fact that she needs to take into account Dennis's happiness as well as his safety. And instead, everything just conveniently goes their way so they don't have to learn anything. And I do get that Drac showed some character growth before this, but honestly this just undercuts the message of the whole movie. So yeah, missed sin for Dennis being a vampire.
I didn't do that.
Callbacks are fun, but Jesus, these movies expect you to remember a lot. I've had to watch these pretty much back to back, and I still had to do some research to make sure my I's were dotted correctly and my fangs were crossed.
Yeah man, I don't think anyone actually believes you did research for this.
Dennis, I'm coming!
Suddenly appearing bike stuff suddenly appears. Also, Dennis I'm Coming is exactly what my college girlfriend screamed at me at the apex of our first sexual encounter together, even though my name is not Dennis.
Cool man. So, the sin total was 32, and the punishment will be a total lack of any character development or growth. Anyway, let's move on to a quickie review. I didn't love it. If you did like this movie, all power to you, but I just didn't like it. I'll tell you what I did like. Mavis was great in it, and Johnny was fun too. Their entire plotline was pretty fun, and I enjoyed it a lot. What I definitely didn't enjoy, however, was Dracula's entire plotline, where he is basically just a dick through the whole movie, and he's still supposed to be a sympathetic character. For the whole thing, I was waiting for it to get to the end so Dracula could learn his lesson and get his comeuppance, but then he just sort of doesn't. Well, we do get some lines from him where he says he loves his grandson no matter what, but in my eyes, it didn't feel earned. It didn't feel like he'd got to that point naturally. It just felt like they'd thrown in that line so they could go, look, Dracula learned his lesson. And then he never has to demonstrate that he's learned his lesson because, oh, his grandson is a vampire anyway, so it doesn't matter. The stuff with Vlad felt really shoehorned in and sort of out of place, but I get why they did it. I just think the movie could have been really improved with a drastically different ending. One where Dennis isn't a vampire and Drac has to accept that. And one where either Mavis learns a lesson so that they don't end up moving and Dennis is happy, or one where Johnny learns a lesson so that they do end up moving. Although that one will be a little trickier to make satisfying because they'd have to show that Dennis is happy with it as well. All in all, I'd say that this is a much weaker film than the first one. It's not without its merits, but yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend it. Anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed this. You may have noticed I'm sort of in the middle of like a soft rebrand where I'm changing all of my art and stuff, not drastically, just a little bit. I'm taking the word cinema out of most of the stuff. I'm considering taking it out of the channel name as well. And that's because I want to separate myself more from CinemaSins and just be sort of a general Sins thing. You know, I don't want to depend on any one other channel for my content, and I think this is a big step towards that. This doesn't mean I'm planning any sort of immediate change to the actual content I'm making, but I do feel this sort of gives me more freedom as to what I can do with the channel in the future, by making it more of its own thing and upping the distinction between my channel and CinemaSins themselves. Let me know what you think. Anyway, I'll see you on Sunday. Goodbye.